Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. What did you think of NASCAR's decision to rescind Blaney's disqualification, and how does that change any part of your outlook as far as how you race and who you're battling?
It doesn't change anything as far as how I race. I think that's just a different sidebar, but it was the right call. Even my crew chief mentioned that it was the right call at the time. So I think they saw it coming, and so it's good that they got it right for sure.
Chris Gapehart basically said that you were hail meloned last year, and I'm wondering what you remember about what Ross did on the final lap at Martinsville.
I mean, I don't remember anything about it except for what I was trying to do. And at the time, I just, they were counting me off as I was, as far as I could remember, we were dominating the race, and then we had a bad pit stop. Went back to 7th or 8th, and then, he said we got to get X amount of spots and very few laps. And so I was just trying to get every spot I could. And I remember him saying, we were even, we're +1, we're not +2. And I just remember him saying, we're +2, you're good, down the backstretch, because I was battling Brad, I believe it was, for one more position. And at that point, I'm thinking 2 cars, I didn't need to push the envelope anymore. So, ended up minus something. Not really sure. But, I mean, all I remember is just, him being right there beside me. So I wasn't sure how it happened.
You weren't looking in the mirror. You were just looking forward, and so it just boom.
Yeah, I had a little gap over whoever was behind me. So it had gotten spread out there towards the end of the race. So, even though it was a short run, there was cars with tires, cars without. So I just remember, seeing nothing and then, being right beside somebody.
Claire Beelang, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Most fans, if they were extremely lucky, might get a ride along at a racetrack, but probably not. And as they watch you run high against the wall here, it is probably out of the understanding for the average person to understand how you do that and what makes it possible. And you probably are one of the really good ones at doing it. Talk us through what that's like here, what you gauge, and how close you think you are to going over the edge.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the closer you can get with a certain amount of speed, it's advantageous. It just, there's a little bit of a buffer there with the air that allows the car to stay right there off of it, but then there's also a bubble you can burst, and then it goes, if you crush it too soon, and then you go into the wall. So it's definitely a very fine line. A lot of it is also depending on the body of the car. Some bodies or it makes it advantageous to do that, because of the way air wraps around the car. So it's just it definitely changes Xfinity and Cup. It's all different, but certainly it seems like the trend has been that it is at this track in particular being such low grip that the top line and using that air buffer gives you the extra amount of grip enough to where it's always usually the fastest line if you can do it right. There's other times that you have to wait to do it too. You can't just jump there right on lap 1. It's not going to be the fastest until the lap time reaches a certain time. So it's definitely a game of that. And we saw just kind of last year it didn't get going until a certain amount of time. So you got to be able to work around other lanes as well to be good.
Would you put yourself in the category of, say, Kyle Larson or Tyler Reddick and being able to run up in the high line near the wall, and how much better you think you are at it now? I
mean, I've had some I've had some wins here, Darlington, all tracks where you run on the wall. I think I'm better than average, but certainly not at the level that I feel like those two guys are in particular. They're willing to take a little bit more risk than I am. It just kind of depends on the scenario as well. Certainly when you're going down to the end of the race and you need some spots here and there, you're willing to push it a little bit more. I just manage risk a little bit differently, and so I'm not willing to fight for that little extra inch there to try to gain, a really small amount of lap time. If I can make that lap time somewhere else, I'll do that. So, there's certain guys that are just a little better.
Go ahead.
Jared Haas with FrontStretch.com. There was a racers forum this past weekend with Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski, and Jeff Gordon said that teams need to be more invested with themselves. With you being an owner and a driver, do you think the return on investment is more with the team, focusing on the team, or the driver itself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure the context, the whole context of it, but it sounds like he wants the teams to resonate with the fans.
Yeah, he wants fans to resonate with the teams more than with the driver.
Yeah. Good luck. I don't think that's going to happen. It just doesn't. I think that our fans really latch on to a driver. It seems like it's always been that way. I think that there'll be generally Hendrick Motorsports fans or Gibbs fans, but there's just not that many in order. It's just different. It'll be very, very tough to make that happen. And what kind of campaign would it take to make that happen? I'm not sure, but the drivers are the stars, and that's where our fans are going to resonate too.
Thank you.
Go up here to Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. Do you have a favorite on-track Kevin Harvick story?
I mean, every time I try to think of one, it was definitely not in my favor. That's for sure. Just kind of the battles we've had. In 2000. Oh man, we've been around a long time. I think it was 2020. Is that when the two of us were winning all the races? I mean, just we had so many 1-2 battles in that year. I think one in particular, the Loudon one, was really interesting because, he knew what I was thinking, but I thought I was playing a chess move ahead of him, and he clearly was onto it. Like, it just, the way we kind of battled there at the end, it was a lot of fun, and certainly, gained a lot of respect for him as a driver.
Off the track, favorite story, away from the track?
Gosh, I haven't had a lot of interactions with Kevin off the track, but one would be kind of when I was vetting Kurt with some of his previous teammates. I went to lunch with Kevin and just talked with him a little bit about, and this was kind of, we were only 1 year into our team, or getting close to 1 year into our team, and just talking business and stuff with him, and kind of stuff that he had learned with KHI when he had it. That was really good conversations that I had with someone, and that might have been the first time it was the first time that I had lunch with like a competitor that wasn't generally just a friend of mine. So that was a good conversation, and just learned a lot from during that moment, and felt like we talked about kind of how our crew chiefs work and how similar career paths and all that stuff that we had. So it was really cool.
You both are kind of lauded for your leadership, right, in the garage. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what have you seen from Kevin's leadership?
Well, I certainly think he's very calculated. There's definitely, he likes to be in control. That's for sure. I think that I really like his style, and in the sense of how he leads, and I believe that he's a very important person in the sport. I mean, in my opinion, he's a Jeff Gordon or Tony Stewart. When he leaves, you're going to notice that he's not there anymore. So I think that he's certainly been a leader in the sport, and he's kind of the last real legacy guy that we've got in our sport that used to know how it used to be, like really and truly. So he's an important figure for sure. He's an important leader. He's an important voice for the drivers, and certainly we'll miss him on this side.
Okay, we got time for one more. We'll come up here to Jeff.
you've obviously gotten to see Larson up close over the years. Do you have any theories on what makes him so good? Why is he able to do the things that he does?
Other than willing to take a few more risks, no, I don't think so. I haven't noticed anything out of the ordinary. There are some very minor things here and there, but I mean, obviously nothing I would share publicly because why would I tell, if I study, why would I give out my information to others? So there's nothing that jumps off the page. No, there's nothing obvious that's a lot different. There's just a couple real small things that are.